Hey, all right, here we are. Part two of the two-part reading. You could go back and watch the reading that I did last week or don't, because I'll probably just kind of recap it right here. We're still in the sandwich between eclipses. The next one coming up is on Friday, or well, 5th, 6th, depending on where you are. And that's the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So here we go, right? Yeah. So this two-part reading, so much information came through that it felt like it was really needed to just like sit down and digest and allow it to actually um just percolate a little bit longer. And so that's why I didn't feel right putting it away. I didn't feel uh anchored enough to just keep going with the reading because I really do feel like time needed to elapse. So last reading, we got a couple of incredible things. I pulled um yeah, make sure I have all the cards. So I pulled this card, which is the Isis and Osiris card. And so basically, Isis came in real strong with her information, as well as the scarab. And if you can see inside, it almost looks as if Isis and Osiris are hanging out inside the scarab. It was pretty incredible to see that happen. And so, oh, the other two cards that I pulled last week were Hiraeth, I believe that's how you say it, which was the longing for home, homesick, homesick for the stars. And I also pulled the void. So a lot of information for me, like came through over the past week. And um a lot of it was about like really leaning into the Isis and Osiris story. And the story is that, if you don't know it already, is that Isis, one of the like mother goddesses, goddess of so many things, the goddess of 10,000 names. Um, Osiris, her soulmate, her love, and turns out, in those days, in this mythology, there were four siblings, and so they were two siblings, and then the other two, um, Nekbet and Set, I believe. So the light, and then the other two, the shadow. So these two, they were together and had a beautiful, loving relationship. Set, the shadow, the brother, was incredibly jealous of Osiris being, kind of like I don't know, just the shining sun, the shining one, and took out his revenge by basically dismantling him, chopping him up, and throwing him out into the lands. And Isis found all of his pieces and put them back together to remember him, except for one vital part, which was his reproductive organ. And so it's just kind of funny, remembering everything except for one thing. But yeah. So what happened here is that, this story is about us remembering who we are and remembering why we came to Earth School and why did we sign up for this? Ah, which is kind of like a big one, right? We came here to learn the beauty and the the joy and the pain and just all of it. We wanted a big time experience, and boy, oh boy, did we get one, right? So, especially right now with so much going on in the world, and um, even I just was seeing that like Florida was hit by an incredible storm, and I see this as like inside outside, where we've got, Earth doing her cleansing and her storming, and that also showing us inside, which is it's a reflection of us also doing our deep work, and the emotions that come up. And yeah, I don't know how everybody out there is doing, but this has been such an incredible time of change, like and holding compassion for these parts that have gone out, and we can't find them, because I feel like this is us. Both of these is us, the part of ourselves that does remember, and the part of ourselves that is nurturing and wise and loving. And then this other part that is like frazzled and disorganized and strewn across all different places and landscapes and jobs and identities and relationships and all of that. That's us. And this wise nurturing piece of us is taking all those bits and putting it back together. And the other thing that I see that I feel was starting to come through was that this is actually also a time where we're starting to put together our the kindred spirits, like the people, like you found yourself here because we have something in common, something that we're doing together. And so it is, you know, a mutual lighting of the sacred flame of the torches. So it's like um you shining your light really bright is helping other people shine their light very bright. And so that right there is also us putting our pieces back together and remembering who we are, not just by like on our own, but also as humanity, as everyone. So there you have it. That was kind of a recap of what kind of came through and a little bit of the reading that I did last week, except for this one piece of the void. The void was a big one as well. And part of what came through with this is that this is a place of absolute, it's an I don't know how to describe the void. Like, who knows how to describe the void, right? It's the void. But to the best of my linguistic abilities, it really is a place where you dissolve into the space, into the nothing, but that is also, it is both nothing and everything. It's a paradox, right? And so, in this space of what feels like nothing is also everything. And so, what I felt was coming through with Isis and Osiris was that this is a time where we are in the void, where our piece, like we might feel so overwhelmed because we are simultaneously negotiating how we are dissolving all of our denser material, all of our limiting beliefs, all of our struggles and challenges, and dissolving that and giving it back to uh earth. Like I talk about composting, and so it is basically like that shedding, because Osiris died. So he literally went back to earth. He dissolved his human body, went back to earth. And so our limiting beliefs, our challenges, all of that, they're coming up to be seen, to be witnessed, to be heard, and they are falling away. But they fall away through us witnessing them fall away. And so that happens in the void. And then simultaneously in the void, we are remembered. We are put back together. The things that make us stronger, wiser. Oh, I'm gonna hop up and go close the door. They are put back together in the everything potential of the void. So let's see, just a second. Okay, it's the first time I've tried pausing, so I hope the flow works. So the next little bit, and this is what I will actually grab and read from the book, the Hiraeth. I thought this was pretty fascinating because the fascinating thing is that here, I'll just read this because I didn't know what Hiraeth was, so I needed to grab my book. Hiraeth is a Welsh word that is difficult to translate, but it refers to a certain longing or homesickness, a yearning for a home or a place that we cannot return to. This inexplainable, unshakable longing for home is common in starseeds and old souls. Perhaps you've had this since birth. For some, it's a distant memory of a planet, galaxy, or star system in the universe that their soul remembers and yearns to return to, a place they may have experienced more than Earth. For others, it's a longing for unity of source, a remembering of interconnected oneness. This yearning can lead some starseeds to travel, searching all corners of the planet to find a physical place that feels more like home. For others, it can manifest in a need to find home in people, communities, and relationships, a journey to find somewhere they truly belong. So I thought that was really fascinating with the idea of us remembering not just on the individual internal level, but also collectively as people. And we're all trying to find where we fit. Where do we belong when all of our pieces, all of us little people being strewn around the planet, and we're all kind of, if you think of like a deck of cards and everything's getting shoveled and then like thrown across to all corners of the earth, that's us. And so here is this reassembling, reconfiguring, finding out where all of us want to live, where we want to work, where we want to create our lives, and we're all strewn around and we're all trying to find our way home wherever that might be. And so I thought that was really interesting that all of this came through. And so in the reading last week, that was so much for me to really unpack because I'm going through it as well. I feel like here, this is a meeting of all of us doing this work together. And so I'm on this journey of finding my way home as well. And so, yeah, last week I felt like a bunch of scrambled eggs. This week, still some scrambled eggs, but I feel a bit more anchored in what this message is about. So here we go for the part 2. Um, I got this. I figured it was very appropriate to grab the Isis Oracle because she came through loud and strong. So let's go ahead and pull from the Isis Oracle and ask our dear Isis, Mother Goddess, that piece of ourselves that already remembers who we are, that already knows the way home, that already has all of the dots. And so there, that was it. That's stuck. Yeah, here we go. What is this? Ancient power mysteries. Hear the rattle of Isis playing. Oh, wow. Hear the rattle of Isis playing. Let's see what that is. I have seen these rattles in museums, and something only a little bit that I know is that it was a like a temple practice of shaking the rattle and creating a vibration, a sound ripple through the air. Let's read more about this. Let's see. The rattle of Isis, the cistern, is playing in the hand of the goddess now. Can you sense it with your inner hearing? Its vibration reaches through your crown chakra and enters your body, initiating you into great ancient power mysteries of sound, creativity, and healing. This is a time when words and music will become increasingly important on your spiritual path and healing journey. Let's see, I'll keep going. The book is very, there's a lot in here, but I think we'll just keep going because this is important stuff. When Lady Isis initiates a beloved into her ancient mysteries, life can become quite interesting. An initiate of Isis does not just learn new ideas as a student, but is thrown into the experience of the mysteries in real day-to-day living so that they may truly master it in their lives and then utilize in service to help the lives of others too, so that one day all beings will be healed and whole. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Talk about, like all of us learning this on the spot, that the cistern is that element of shaking things awake, um of like vibration and sound, and everything around us is vibration. Wow. And I love that the idea of all of us actually experiencing it so that later down the road we can help others who are also experiencing something similar, something that we notice and we say, "Oh, yes, I remember when I went through something like that." And how what, pulling through what it is that you needed as support at that time, and you being able to offer that support out when you see it coming up again. And that may be well received or not. And but at least trying it out to see if you can feel it out, you offering that love and support in the way that maybe you didn't receive it at the time you were in that position. I don't know, trying things out to see how they feel. This is all an experiential path. So we're all scientists on this journey, trying to sort out what works, what doesn't work, what we're shedding, what we're growing, all of it, all at once. So there's a reason that we're all feeling these things quite intensely, is because it is quite intense. Especially in the portal window where everything like this lunar eclipse, solar eclipse portal window, everything is magnified. Magnified. Yeah. So let's see. Um, so basically, I'll go on a little bit that says that we are guided to use words that reflect the experience you would like to create in your life. So this is also telling us about how words are so crucial in what it is that we're creating. That words have so much power. What you tell yourself has so much power. When we use the phrase "I am" fill in the blank, that you are creating that. And I fumble with that all the time. And I feel like I constantly am catching my words and how it is that I'm creating my next steps. And yeah, it's interesting when you start to notice that the level of responsibility and dedication, I guess, to being compassionate with yourself as you're learning all these things on the fly, because you don't just learn it and then instantly master these things. It's having deep compassion and watching yourself struggle like an infant. Just imagine like we're all those tiny toddlers learning how to use their legs for the first time. And, we're all excited and we're like, hey, look, I'm running. But then, bam, you fall down. And it's like having deep compassion for yourself when you hit the floor and you just find that levity and joy. Um, and finding that joy is really what gets you through. So regardless of what's going on, keeping keep an eye on what brings you the most joy. And when you're flat on your face and you have fallen down, find one little speck of a grain of sand that brings you joy when you're looking at the ground, okay? Because then you can lift yourself back up. And that's, yeah, that's an interesting dance. So I want to go ahead and let's go ahead and pull one more from the Isis deck. So the Ancient Power Mysteries. Is there anything else in there that seemed really crucial? I think right here, honestly, is I just hear the word music, 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 music. And so listening to music that you love right now, if you're having a day where you're struggling, putting on some music that you can dance to and lighten the mood somehow, um, or going out for live music, or any way in which you can change your vibration. So change your vibration. If you feel like, yeah, things get dense, just find that way to move through. Let's see. What's the next little message that we've got from Isis? That's a lot of cards, Isis. Let's go ahead and pull. What's one more thing that you wish to share with us? One more thing that you would like. There it is. There it is. Soul retrieval. Soul retrieval. Deep soul healing. Wow. Yes. And that's precisely what this is. This story is about soul retrieval. She went out throughout the entire landscape, finding all the pieces of her beloved and put them back together. This is deep soul retrieval. And each of us are going on our own inner journey, guided by our hearts and our future selves and our child selves, all those wise ones that live inside that remember who we have been and who we are becoming. And this soul retrieval is so crucial and so beautiful. So finding those pieces and pulling them back into your heart, letting them integrate back into each of your pieces. So let's go ahead and read a bit of that. Oh, I love doing these readings. Let's see, soul retrieval. Okay. Oh, the piece, honestly, that just popped out is forgiveness. Wow. We'll get to that in a second. But that just like the word forgiveness just boom, like shot out at me. Okay. Let's see. Ah, Isis, healing goddess, now offers you spiritual restoration and deep soul healing through the art of soul retrieval, claiming pieces of you lost through trauma, old and new. Soon you will enjoy greater wellness, energy, and power, as well as as the opening of gifts and soul abilities you did not know you had or did not remember you had. Did you know that the pieces of you can be trapped in the past, in the traumatic experiences, in the relationships, and even those long gone, because part of your power remains with another? This can happen because of permission subconsciously given for them to hold a piece of your spirit. Then the time comes for such permissions to be revoked and the pieces of self to be reclaimed and restored to the soul. Master, healer, and goddess of deep soul restoration, Lady Isis now guides you to make peace with the past and claim those lost pieces of your own soul. The time has come for you to take yourself entirely into your own possession and call back your soul from trauma in this lifetime and others, to give yourself back to yourself wholly and completely. In doing so, your life will flourish, infused with greater energy into beautiful new expression. So, again, this message of bringing ourselves back into wholeness on a personal level and on a collective level. We're bringing, and when we do this on a personal level, that actually is doing it on a collective level just because you've done it. Like, so these things, I keep coming back to this feeling that it is effortless. And by that, I don't mean that it doesn't take work, but that it's an organic process, that when we do these things inside where we remember pieces of ourselves, and part of that is like, putting on some music that you like to listen to at a certain time period of your life, and remembering how you were at that age, and maybe bringing that part back home. But these little fractured pieces of ourselves, when they come back into wholeness in on our personal level, um we are stronger, we have more energy, we have more will to live, we have more excitement and passion and joy, and we just have more energy to serve. We just, our battery is not strewn around the environment. Like, just imagine, like, like we have just the one little battery, and if all the energy is being discharged all over the place, it doesn't have much juice to live. So, when we bring that back, then we really are like, we light our flame so that we can light others. And that is, I love how much deeper this message is going. So, yeah, and so now this part, let's talk about like the word forgiveness that just like popped right into my head. It just jumped off the page, that it says forgiveness can be a good place to begin the work more consciously. It's this is hard spiritual work sometimes because we want to be right or justified in what we feel or perceive, and we don't want to be harmed again by allowing inappropriate behavior. In the action of forgiveness, you are simply reclaiming your energy from a situation, person, or experience so that it is at your disposal instead of being trapped in their energetic field. So, yeah, basically that energy of forgiveness, it untangles, it untangles the knots. And so when there is forgiveness, like, that's you brushing out your tangles. It doesn't mean that the other person necessarily will untangle themselves. That's their choice, that's their work, that's what they do. But we only just have control over our own tangles. And so the more we actually, for with this, for the forgiveness, what I actually am hearing is that this whole idea that we're all separate is actually complete illusion, because you hear all of this, the ancient spiritual teachings that we are one, and it is true, we are one. However, we're all having an individual experience. But if we treat this idea on that philosophy of we are one, then when we are forgiving, we it's kind of as if, you see the other out there. And this is, I'm trying to make this really like solid. How to talk about it is like, basically, you are out there. Like there's a million more versions of you out there if we're using this all or one philosophy. So it's like your neighbor is you, your coworker is you, like everybody is you, but they're all having their own individual experience. And so if we just untangle ourselves, we're untangling the whole, but we're not forcing that upon anybody else, because that's not what we came here to do. We didn't come here to force people to heal or put themselves back together. That everybody's on their own journey. So yeah, that idea of forgiveness, it doesn't mean that the other person, um the slate's wiped clean or they're not accountable for their actions, but it cleans us, if that makes sense. It's tricky because this is one of those things where um sometimes being told to forgive, it reopens certain things. And it's kind of, it sometimes is seen as like, oh well, the other person can just go off and do that same hurtful thing again and again, but that's really not what this is about. This is about us taking authority and sovereignty over our own healing, and then that becoming the mirror of what it looks like to be healed and whole. And then others around us see that they have permission to do the same just by you being you. Okay. I think we're going to pull one last card, and this is from a very quirky deck. I need a little bit of lightness, and this is kind of feels like I've gone into a diner and they just have an oracle deck there. Of course, that's the kind of diner that I'll have in the future, right? Yeah, the oracle diner. But I love this deck. It is very I feel like it, okay, future self wants to pop out. Future self is here hanging out with us. And I love how these are just so, I don't know what the word is. It just makes me think of cherry cola. Like it's like a like pop fizz and super super um I don't know what the art style is. If somebody knows what the art style is, you let me know. But anyway, future self is hanging out with us big time because our future self already knows all of the different ways in which we have tried to put ourselves back together and is already whole. It's now like it's hanging out in the future, cheering us on, watching us work through these things, and reaching out its hand to us right now so that we can take it and they can help us get through these learning opportunities. Because let's call them opportunities. These are learning opportunities. Okay. So I actually feel like let's just go ahead and call our future self since it decided to show up here. Future self of us and everyone watching. What is it that you would like? Oh my goodness, future. Well, we've got a lot of future selves here hanging out. So let's just, maybe we all just take a collective breath. Future self of the soul tribe, of all of us together as one. What is it that you would like us to know? Okay, so again, we've got lots, but you know what? We're just going to work with it. Light in the dark. We're just going to let how many cards showed up? Many. We're just going to let them build kind of a little story. So ready? Light in the dark. introspection. Seasons, the process, and the inner child. That right there tells me a story. So let's get back to the beginning. That the light in the dark is that no matter what part of the journey you're on, there's always light. There's always light, there's always dark. And I see this as that little spark of joy that remains regardless of what's going on. And rekindling it at all costs, rekindle that flame, that light, so that you can actually see your way forward. And that bringing up deep introspection, us not being afraid of the dark, actually utilizing the dark to see the stars inside, to see those guideposts, to see the breadcrumbs that lead you forward, and see how it's like that light illuminating clarity, and then you see all these little soul fragments being remembered, being put back into place. It's like that clearing, that illuminating quality inside. And so that leads to deep introspection. It just comes so naturally. So maybe this would be like, you know, journaling on what it is that you remember about yourself or about your old versions of you, like going back years ago. What did you like to do as a child? What did you like to do as a teenager? What did you like to do last year? And then seasons. Seasons. What season are you in? What time of life is this? And what is it that you're here to focus on? I like each part of the season is a time to focus on something new. And if we're in deep introspection, it can help us prioritize, it can help us choose which angle to look at for a little while so that it's not overwhelming. And so taking a look at the season and then trusting the process, that no matter what you do, no matter where you are always on the path. Your future self is always right there in front of you. Like I see that as the giant hand, like you, the giant hand writing the script. And that really it's just a matter of remembering to keep going. And, all these different squares are different places where we're learning something interesting. And boom, look at this realization, this manifestation. There's something, the light at the end of the tunnel where it's like some pieces of the puzzle come together and you see something more clearly. Really pausing for a little while along the way, along each of these seasons to really, I don't know, be grateful for yourself and all the places that you have been and all the versions of you that you have been. And then I love this, the future, the inner child. Look at that. It's like who you were at the very beginning, who you are always, the very end. And look at this, like, the trusting your inner child, allowing your inner child to come out and play a bit more, because the inner child really does have so many pieces of you. It has so many pieces of you that are there waiting to be interviewed, is the word that actually just came. Interviewed. Interesting word to pop into my head. Of, what, like I keep thinking of, what is it that you really love to do as a child? And allowing that imagination to take root again, because like again, I see the water, uh, that path again is right here in the water. And but the water is that like emotional, like it, so it's like seeing that like the emotional stuff that comes up more as a playground of, and then again this, look at that, how it's mirrored again, light in the dark again is coming through with the sun in the child's head. And so that right there is like that inner child really is the light in the dark. And so, whenever anything is coming up, allowing that inner child to take take a peek, like what is it that the inner child needs right now? And actually allowing that inner child to have a bit of say in the way forward, because it's important to trust the process. So this was a beautiful reading. I'm glad that we could unpack it further. This is definitely a time when we're all putting ourselves back together and we're all lifting each other up and lighting each other's way forward, one way or the other. I love that. I really do. So I think I leave it at that because I think we got a lot more out of this. Ah, and yeah, I guess I will see you again in the next reading, which will probably be after the eclipse, and we'll just see what pops up then. You never really know, especially here. There's so many beautiful helpers that come into the readings to play and to help and to offer their wisdom. So, if anybody out there, loves working with Isis, Osiris, this is a great time to actually perhaps do like an offering or light a candle or in some way do some kind of gratitude to the love and the wisdom and the help that we are endlessly given through our our guides and these these archetypal gods and goddesses and the animal medicine that comes along for the ride. And yeah, don't hesitate to leave a comment below so that we can all kind of light each other's candles, because it's lovely when we share in community. And I do really love to see people out there responding and connecting. And you may not know each other, but we're all here hanging out because in some way or another we are a little soul pod. So um, it's a good way to get to know who's out there and see who else is just naturally your friend. Because I feel like this is a group of friends and we're here gathering week by week to tell a story through the oracle cards and just the things that come through. And I'm also going to put it out there if anybody has suggestions for what to read about, what questions to read on. I love suggestions, so it'd be really fun to do that. I don't know, I've never tried that out, so why not? See what happens when we like group mind it, right? So, yeah, I hope everybody has a beautiful full moon lunar eclipse coming up, and I'll see you next time. All right. Bye, everybody.